any training help we will take.
You guys ever done a dab after you left the carb cap on your rig for like an hour and then go to grab the carb cap and it's just super hot? Oops. Cheers, guys. Welcome to episode 240 of the Michigan Bros Grow Show.
Don't grab the carb cap.
Do
How
not.
you doing that? Don't leave it on there either.
No.
That hurts.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Happy
Well, we
Sunday.
need that dog trainer or the human trainer guy to come over. What's his name?
Caesar?
Need a human-
Yeah.
We tried the Caesar method, and he just loves it. He just thinks it's a game. It's like that thing.
Hey.
He doesn't respond.
Ah.
Oh, he's chewing on my sweater. Hey, it's not a toy.
It's all day. It's all day long. He's fine. He's doing his thing.
Hey,
He's got about 4 more teeth to go. He's got his bottom canines and a few more. He's got a whole bottom row of just gums. So he's just wanting something to he like gets on my hand and he just starts gumming me. Chewing on his gums. And he's got a couple bottom canines totally loosey.
You got any of those like teether toys or whatever?
oh yeah,
we've
he's got all the
kinds.
toys.
We give him frozen stuff all the time. We give him frozen. Well, we have like obviously ice cubes and stuff, but we freeze. Becca makes bone broth, and we freeze that and make ice cubes out of that. So it's
Oh, nice.
super rich, collagen enriched snack for him. Good for everything. And squash, pumpkins, summer squash, winter squash, any of that kind of stuff.
Look, he's making
Blend
me
it
go
up.
in a circle.
There he goes. He's also a perpetual motion machine. He will continue to go like the Energizer Bunny. He seems to never run out of a battery at all. He has been letting us work in the garden, which is really nice. I say that, and I'm not someone to hear it now that I say that, but he's been really good actually with his separation from us, even if it's across the, because he follows us around the house everywhere.
He thinks my sweater's a toy.
He's in total play mode. We've been gone the afternoon. Cheers, chat. Cheers, everybody. I see Robert in chat. Grateful. Haas Farms. Everybody in chat. Dr. Levy alone. Everybody kicking the early birds getting the worms, guys. Chuck D's nugs. I'm going to have to rip some bongs. Bong rips tonight. And speaking of birds, we actually got some little red. What are they? Red finch. It's some kind of a house finch. It's like a red, not a red-breasted house finch, a red face. It's some kind of house finch. Either way, I've never seen them before in like my yard specifically. And this year they are in. They have come in. And the yellow finches came in last year. The golden finch. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a golden finch.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a canary. It looks like a beautiful yellow canary
So
with
pretty.
a stripe, this red-headed finch is very pretty. It's got beautiful red head and into the breast of it, and then it's all black brown, little cute little finch bird, sparrow type looking bird, and so we have a pair of them, the male and the female, and they built a nest.
Oh, nice.
And when I first moved into this neighborhood, to give you guys a little context, here we go. A little context where I live. I'm in old cornfield neighborhoods. Just one of those neighborhoods that popped up in the last 30 years. It used to be all old cornfield, no topsoil. All of that's been stripped, sold. Probably somebody in Illinois or something. The farmland around here, I would say, is it's like nuked. That nuked, desolate. It's just dry as farmland. So this I saw golden finches at the park down the road. There's a nice little like biosphere down the road from us. It's actually a pretty large park. They have a very large wooded area and a huge pollinator native grass pollinator area. And in that area, for my first time ever when I moved out here about 10 years ago, I saw the golden sparrow. And I was like, I'm only like 2 or 3 miles from my house. Why don't I ever see these in my neighborhood? Come and find out, I didn't see a lot of varieties of birds in my neighborhood or life for that matter. And now all of a sudden, after years of working in permaculture and biointensive gardening, we have not only all of those beautiful birds, we have Oh, we have families of Blue Jays and Cardinals and everything. I'm gonna give Becca a hand real quick and go chase out the owls that we have also.
I've been enjoying random bald eagle sightings. I know we had I think we have like a pair that hangs out mostly during the summers in like a nearby lake or something must be, but we see them fairly often in the summer. But maybe like 2 weeks ago, I saw one just driving down a road, like, and not really that far from Flint, actually. So I don't know what it's doing over there, but they are technically scavengers, so there could be just a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
scavenge. Maybe it was garbage day or something. Maybe it got smart.
Yeah, we have a pair here that live along the river. So at times when I'm going to work, I get to see them, and they're usually both together at times. The 2 times I've seen them, they've been together. And they're certainly beautiful.
Yeah, every time I see them up high or anywhere close, I'm like, oh, try to like look for that white head. You know what I mean? It's just some
Mhm.
identifying factor because when they get up there, like a couple hundred feet, even it's like really hard to tell like the perspective on the size of them. So look for some identifying marks. But then you get like all these birds in your backyard, and they move so quick sometimes that you can't even tell what kind of finch or whatever it is. I will say the Blue Jays though, they're just the bossy, mean ones of the group.
Yeah, Blue Jays are.
They're
I feel
very pretty, but
Orioles are too. Orioles can be dickheads.
okay.
Mm-hmm. They like to come in and take over a lot of feeders and that, like if they pop into the area. So they can be assholes. I love birds. I like
The male Orioles are real orange, right? Like real bright orange belly or something, or chest.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's something. There's a lot of whatever this is in Michigan, and it's got like the orange wing, like the shoulder
Oh,
wing.
that's the Eastern Blackbird.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see a ton of those.
Whenever those show up in Cincinnati, I always knew that was when spring was ready.
Yeah.
It was here. So
They've been dancing a lot around my bird feeder. And then of course the mourning doves, which are like the saddest ones of them all. They're just like, they fly like their bodies are way too heavy for their wingspan, and they just make sad and silly noises, and they just are kind of in the way and slow, and but they're just always there. They're often in pairs.
I love now going outside, and it's so loud from the birds again. It's tonight I was just like, oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Just hearing all the noise.
Yeah, shoot, it was 80 degrees here today, so it was a great day to be outside if you were able.
Do you guys have any ponds by you?
Yes, in our neighborhood we've got a bunch.
Do you hear the frogs at night? Because this,
Yeah.
it's like almost unbearable at this time of year.
They're actually much more loud by the farm, where we're
Mhm.
probably closer to water. There's probably a creek and some shit out by the farm. We're probably closer to a large body of water, a pond. There's a very large lake where the farm is. I really want to go on a tangent. Okay, I'm not going to go on this tangent.
Do it.
I really want to go there. I want to go there.
Never too early, Red. It's you have permission. Becca's like, please let me at least reel you in.
Like, what? Before you go on this one,
She's like, let me do that.
no, but at the farm, I'll go out at nighttime and I will hear the roaring frogs. And we're not next to like wetland. They're like grass frogs. These little tiny little frogs out in the grass. And I mean, it's not wet, it's super dry out there.
What color are they? Are they like the wide ones? Or are they the slick long green ones?
Slick long green ones. They'll
Okay.
actually like be little tree frogs. They'll like be up on the house, and
And that's what I was gonna say. Whatever they're doing, I haven't figured it out. AKA, I haven't looked it up on Google or the internet or a encyclopedia. If you're from that time, I see. Yeah, they come from the ponds and come up to dry land at night, and so I'm always tripping over them on the porch and stuff.
and
They get that far.
frogs love chasing those things. And I'm always like, no, don't eat the frog. You're gonna like poison yourself or something. I never know like if they're poisonous frogs.
I love frogs. I used to collect them as a kid. If I saw them at my grandparents' house, I'd like make a little home for them, a little terrarium, and just like be really probably terrible and kidnap them.
I was always told they'd I was always told they'd give me warts if they pee on me, of course, and they would always pee on me. I'd pick one up.
I've definitely heard that tale too. Is that like a? Should we Snopes that?
We should look that up now that we're older and we have the power of the internet in our hands.
Yeah.
I actually haven't looked up. I just
Go
like
to the library. What?
took it as gospel as a child. No, I guess the tangent that I want to go into now, I want to go into my frogging tangent, of course. Now that we're talking about frogs, when I was 13, we did a you know how every now and then groups of family members would get together and go on like a family hunt or a family fishing trip or something like that. And sometimes it's like a duck hunt, or maybe they go elk hunting or something like. We went frogging, and we went out on my uncle's airboat down in the swamps of Florida. And I mean airboat, we woke up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I haven't seen Daddy Red in chat yet, but this was one hell of a fucking blast of a time, dude. You get up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., go get the airboat, drive it down, park it in some fucking, I don't know, parking lot somewhere. He backs the airboat off the trailer. Mind you, we're like, I don't know, a couple hundred yards from the nearest creek, pond, swamp, wherever the fuck we were. He just right across the fucking cement parking lot in this airboat, dude. You know, just like, all right, get in. And I'm like, are we going in water in this fucking thing yet? I have no idea where the water is. We all get in. The seats are for the adults. I'm the child, so I get, the platform floor. I'm on the floor.
Oh, jeez.
Down on the
last year?
I was 13.
Oh.
26, I don't know, 26 years ago. Yeah, 26 years ago. Wait, yeah, 26 years ago. So probably, actually, Mother's Day will be 26 years. It was a Mother's Day. It was for Mother's Day frog dinner. So we go out there. There's eyes. I mean, it's 3 a.m. in the swamps in Florida. We're out in the fucking swamp, dude, in the middle of nowhere. You can't see any lights. You can't see any city. The airboat dies. I mean, we're not swimming it in. I don't know what the fuck we're doing, and we're not exactly supposed to be out there, so I don't think we're gonna radio it in either. But yeah, so we're out there. We've got, I don't know, 10, 15 foot long prods with these little like spearheads at the end, and they're just going along spearing frogs and putting them in the bucket at the front of the boat, and the bucket's got a big bag, and the bucket's got a little prawn you can like slide the frog off and pull the spear. Sorry guys, I should have given you a warning before this, but anyways, we took all those frogs, like 200-300 frogs, for our Mother's Day feast, and I got to learn how to dress frogs that weekend. And it was
How long does that take? That seems tedious.
The whole family got involved. All the cousins were involved, dude. So I don't know, there's like 6 or 8 cousins, my uncles, my dad, everybody. Grandma's in the kitchen fucking boiling water. Everybody was involved. It took all day. I mean, it took all the next day. The frogs, bag of frogs in the cooler, and just started cooking them. Man, it was fucking delicious. I'm not gonna lie, it was delicious. For
those that don't know, what does it taste like?
I'm definitely not gonna say it tastes like chicken. It's
okay.
It's like, it's the texture, consistency of chicken. You know what I mean? It really is. But if you cook it right, it's got a much more of a tenderness to it.
Would you say it's almost like someone mixed duck and chicken?
Yeah.
It's not as greasy as duck, but it does have that kind of
game fowl, not fowl, gross fowl.
Right. Like bird fowl.
It has that ducky bird fowl. Yeah, like dark, almost like dark meat, thigh, leg of a meat. Obviously it's chicken, it's frog leg, but
frog leg.
Yeah.
Not making it sound appetizing.
There's not a lot of meat on them, but big bullfrog. I mean, these were very large, head to tail.
Oh,
the toe frog. You stretch out the frog.
Yeah, but still, that's good size.
Big frogs, very large frogs. So if you can't see my hands and you're listening, it's 12, 18-inch long frogs. I mean, giant bullfrogs.
And the legs were like what, 8 inches or 6 inches or something?
Yeah, the legs were like that. Full set of pants.
So you think in an emergency, if we needed to eat frogs, you could
still do that?
Still do that?
As long as I have a pair of tin snips.
Yeah, Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you do with the rest of the other half? You just throw them back and they grow back their legs, or
Yeah, they grow them back
okay, that's a good ending. We can go with that.
out there. Yep, they grow back the legs, and
Aren't
no
watching.
Like a starfish.
frogs were harmed during the Mother's Day feast. So
But the family was fed. Don't worry.
family and no frogs were harmed.
I've never like gone frogging. I don't even know what's the frog hunting.
Yeah, frogging. Yeah,
Okay.
frogging, yeah, that's very interesting. Definitely the most redneck or down south thing that I've ever done. I don't know if we even have frogs that big to make it worth going out. I've never seen people out on airboats in our like marshes or anything like that. I don't know if it's a thing up here, but it's super common down there.
I was looking up how to start a crayfish farm the other day.
That's super cool. I really enjoy specifically speaking of getting into like aquaponics and things like that. I really want to like just close loop farm crayfish, prawns, all that kind of stuff.
You need a lot of flat property that you can flood like 18 inches deep.
Like an outdoor deal. That'd be
Yeah, like a couple acres, and you could do it. You know what I mean? Like of just flat land that you can kind of like maybe just build a berm around or something.
Yeah, I was thinking a couple IBC totes, but yeah, that's
yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go. Crawfish or crayfish. Let's get the linguistics.
Oh, good. I have to ask Google on that one.
I always said it the other way. How do you say it?
I've always when I was younger, I said
how did you just
crayfish.
say it?
I say crawfish nowadays.
Yeah, I think I say crawfish.
I'll say crawfish.
Crawdad.
Crayfish.
Great.
Yeah. And the
I think is there two different words?
crawdaddy. I don't know.
Maybe they're two different craws.
Well, maybe one's a fresh and one's a brackish.
Well, crawfish is an intransitive verb, which means to withdraw from an undertaking or to back out in humiliating manner. The noun, though, is a decapod crustacean of the family. I can't pronounce that. Resembling the lobster, but smaller and found in fresh waters. So let's look up crayfish and see if that's any different.
Crayfish, pronunciation, crawfish.
Crayfish, noun, any of various freshwater crustaceans of the families Ostracidae and Cambridae of the northern hemisphere, and the family Parastacidae of the southern hemisphere, resembling a lobster but considerably smaller. So I think it's the same thing.
I feel like that was like in the South, like like in New Orleans, they say craw.
It's probably linguistics. Yeah, my guess is it's just a cultural linguistics thing, and not so much
I always say crayfish.
meaning of the word. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Like from lakes.
I'm definitely more of the Midwestern crayfish. With the longer
Crayfish and crawfish are two different ways to spell the same word. In most contexts, including taxonomy, biology, and everyday use, crayfish is the standard term. Crayfish is also standard outside of the United States. It's like the metric system. In the context of regional cuisine, however, crawfish is more recognizable. Crayfish would look out of place in contexts involving Southern cooking. So even though crawfish is not technically standard, it is the better choice. Well, that's just confusing.
It's a culinary choice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did we have this discussion recently about it was like the culinary versus something else, and it was the same word, but the different application? I don't remember. This might have been weeks ago. I won't remember it, but yeah.
Sounds like what we would talk about.
Yeah.
It sounds like much later in the show, though.
Semantics.
We're only 20 minutes in.
Semantics, linguistics, and sometimes weed.
Speaking of which, I guess prepping for your outdoor yet?
Yes. Oh my God. Prepping for outdoor. We have.
How's that going?
For
I
cannabis
don't know where to begin.
specifically? Or?
Yeah,
Yeah. No, we're talking cannabis.
Well, we popped some seeds, and so those are now plants that we've taken clones from. We've topped. We took the clones. Now we're taking some females out to run inside in a farm, and then the males we're going to decide between some to put outside here. So we've got like a Tahiti lime that's going to have a male, Durban Margie, blue steel. We haven't quite decided what we're going to do.
So far, this
outside.
blue steel smells funky. We've already had a couple we went through and started topping everything. It's been, God, I don't know, guys. How long has it been since we popped these seeds? Middle of February? Has it been that long? Or it's been 6 or 8 weeks. So these plants are probably 6 or 8 weeks old. They're sexually mature. The clones maybe, they're a foot and a half tall. We've topped a few of them. All the femmes, the first round, the femmes got topped 2 weeks ago, and those are currently growing out at the farm.
We've got a dub bub.
The tops are.
Dub bub.
What's a dub bub?
It's Bubba Kush and Dosido.
Bubba Kush and Moonbow.
No, Dosido.
Just Dosido?
Yeah.
It's not a Moonbow run?
No, I looked it up.
Was it? Okay. Bubba Kush and Dosido. I thought it was one of the Moonbows, but yeah, that sounds good.
So we've got that and a Rose Gold, one of the phenos of the Rose Gold.
That's Pineapple Express and Moonbow. These Moonbow 75 also on these lines, which is what I'm super geeked about, because a lot of the Moonbow out there is Moonbow 55, Moonbow something like that, Moonbow 55 or something like that, and then Moonbow 75 is supposed to be the super gas. Funky skunk, from my understanding. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. The other big one was, what else? We put a golden goat out there. We have 2 golden goat that ended up coming out. One of them's still holding out on the roots. Let's see here. So anyway, we got some of those going out as far as femmes, but as far as outdoor, we're basically putting all of the seed, everything with the taproot. So everything that we popped, that we took clones off of, you'd call that the original mother. Those are all just going to go outside. We're going to end up putting all those outside in the greenhouse probably this week. I mean, we got some days in the 40s coming up. They should be fine in the greenhouse. We could talk about putting things outside now, especially in the northern hemisphere, especially up north of the 45th parallel, where we are. If you're a little further south, it might not have this issue, but so anyways, we are also putting so a couple males. We ended up getting 2 right now when I was going through and topping everything. 2 sex tests. We're not putting anything into production to sex test. We're sex testing everything under a ring light, okay, on a desk. So what do we got? 24 pint jars, okay? I don't know, half full with water. And then we topped all of our regular seed plants, so males and females, topped them all, and we put 1 or 2 cuttings of each one into a glass of water. We stuck all of that underneath a ring light in our workroom, which we're not in all day. We go in there, when we need to be in there. So we're just going to not go in there after 8 p.m. And from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., because there's a window in there, whatever, we're giving it 12-12 cycle as best of one as we can. Obviously the sun's up a little longer than 12 hours a day right now, but it comes up about 7:30 and it goes down about 8:39. So whatever, we're giving about that light cycle with the ring light. And that will trigger flower just as a cutting, stick a cutting in the water. And so they're already sexually mature. And so rather than wasting any of our production space on finding females and risking males or anything like that, and we're not just sticking plants, from 2 weeks of seed into flower either. I'd like to make sure everything's sexually mature. I don't want to risk herms and all this other issue and not knowing and understanding whether or not what variables did it, right? And was the fact that it wasn't sexually mature one of those variables? I don't know. Let's eliminate that variable.
Say it one more time.
Variable? Eliminate the variable? Have we talked about eliminating variables? So anyway, eliminate that variable, and then we can, work out different variables.
And then decide kind of based on that what we want to put outside for males, because we do want to do seeds this year. So we have to decide on that.
So we're not totally tossing all of our males. So everything's kind of just going to go out into the greenhouse until we find something.
So a couple of them already showed sex as male. So we've got a vanilla gorilla that's male and a blue steel that's male. So
And,
those
and
are
they
pulled
showed
out.
sex in veg, by the way. So that's one of these other reasons why I like letting things go to sexual maturity, because if you do allow them to go sexual maturity, you may not have to. Okay.
It's when they get root bound, isn't it?
No, not
Or-
necessarily.
or
It's just a sexual maturity thing. You'll get some of the lower bottom of the plant that's just not photosynthesizing like the rest of the plant. And I mean, it could be a number of reasons. It's not necessarily root bound. Root bound could probably do it. Those plants may be root bound, but I don't think that's what's doing it. I think it's just their time. And they're we could send in a sample, right? We could spend what, $10 a leaf tissue cutting or whatever it is, and send them in and figure out which ones are males and just get rid of the males. But we also want to get a profile on the male. I like going through every single plant, and when I was taking tops, I mean, we should have logged all of this information, but as I was taking the tops, I was, jotting down physical traits that I was noticing, smell characteristics, resin characteristics from the stem, color, leaf structure, node spacing, just all of these little things that, should have been writing down, but we're just kind of going through. And basically the ones that I was like, oh yeah, that's funky, I'll remember that. But other things, like there's some plants that, I'm like, that's not going to work in our system. We'll run it, but it's probably not going to work in our system just based on the node spacing or how vigorous it is, or just something like that. And some of the other ones are vigorous to the point where I like it. You know what I mean? Not overly vigorous, but still structurally sound, So we got some blueberry. We ended up having a blueberry female show herself. So we already took a top off of blueberry female and started cloning it. We ended up seeing 2 hairs coming out of that one. It's usually a lot easier to spot the males than it is the females in veg when you're running that. But going through and taking tops, sure enough, one was already sexually mature. Had a couple, little stamina or pistols, whatever you want to call them, coming out, and ready to go. So we're in the process right now of doing the pheno hunt. The clones that we just took out there, those are still not going to be the mothers. Those are tops off of what we took here, and we're going to run those and take mothers from those. The conditions out there are just way more dialed in, and the lighting's better and everything. So once they get bigger under metal halide, nice big stocky bushy plants, then we'll take some nice mother clones off of those, and those will be our mothers until we call and
Figure out what we like.
Yep. And I'm hoping one of those vanilla gorillas stick around as a gorilla glue, like chocolatey gas type of a variety. I really like that.
I want a Tahiti lime. I'm hoping.
What do you want from it? Do you want lime?
I want lime, yeah.
I want lime too, but I'm afraid it's going to take over citrique, and then I'm going to.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It sounds really good though.
I did this before though. I did this with Chernobyl, where I was like, I really like this lemon diesel, and then I got rid of the Chernobyl, and then the lemon diesel, I was like, meh, after I grew it for like 6 months, and then I was like, man, I really fucking miss that.
Well,
Chernobyl.
we can always keep the citrique, Mom, but she grows so much slower anyway.
I know, it's just a pain in the ass. Then, but that blue steel is blueberry. It's an old school blueberry cut, OG blueberry cut, from before DJ Short did whatever work. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to muddle the waters. He worked with Dutch Passion, and they had whatever issues went on there. But this cut was the original High Times winter cut. So the blueberry that goes around now is a recreation of the High Times winter. And it's including the F4, the F5, and all of that. He had to go back through and find, I don't know, the Thai and the Oxycontin, or the Hawakan and the Thai, I think, made the blueberry, something like that. And he had to go back and find those. Whereas the original blueberry has supposed to have that. whatever won the cup, and so that's times the cube, and the cube what's the cube? The cube, I think it's like
I remember the cube.
yeah, it's got a really good lineage on the cube, and off the top of my head I can't think of it, but I think that's what's giving it this skunk. I mean, it just smells, the male smells berry, but it just smells skunky, man. It's like a fruity skunk. It's super skunky.
The
Yeah.
cube is Starfighter F1 cross with Starfighter IX2.
That's what it is. All the stuff. Yeah.
So
It's
Lemon
just-
Alien Dog and Tahoe Alien is what makes Starfighter, and Tahoe OG Kush and Alien Kush is what makes Tahoe Alien.
Interesting.
Yeah. Starfighter IX2 is Starfighter crossed with Exotic Fighter. Exotic Fighter is a Starfighter crossed with Starfighter F2.
So it's like heavily inbred.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of Starfighter. I mean, that's why it's the cube, right? Like,
Yeah, I think it was a stabilized line, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was back to being stable. I don't know too much about it, but
so exotic genetics, 70% indica, apparently 56-day flowering. It's pretty quick. Super frosty. Looks like kind of looks like a thin leaf variety, though, if I'm honest.
it's definitely taking on like the blueberry, like hook curl, like leaf curl. The blueberry plant has this trait. Just about everyone, and a lot of DJ Shorts varieties will do this. I'm not sure if it comes from that Hawaiian or what does it, but it has this like hooking, just the tips of the leaves, you know, and I don't know if it's nutritional, if it's something that they require, but it's not something that I see throughout my garden, and I only see it on the blueberry. You know what I mean? But right now I'm seeing it on that cube and blueberry, the blue steel. I'm like one of them, you know. And another cool thing that you get off those old blueberry cuts is red bleeding plants. And what we are getting is we're getting staining red really heavily. So if I like cut a petiole or cut a leaf tip or something, and then like wipe my scissors with I'm lost for words, alcohol and fucking paper towel or whatever, the paper towel is pink.
On some of them.
Red, pink, yeah, on some and not others, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of anthocyanin just like secreting through just like the, I don't know, oil gland, but just through the basic like glands of the plant. A lot of like very deep purple stem, things like that. And I don't think that's a nutrition thing. I think that's a natural purpling of these specific varietals, you know, the blueberry. Might find a nice blueberry between those two, either the blue steel and the blueberry. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm hoping for one. I really want to have a nice blueberry. And
I want to point something out real quick about this, the cube. So this is the ancestors, parents, and genealogy on Seed Finder. But if you scroll down, you're going to get the hybrids and crossings. So it's descendants of this. You know what I mean? We're not going up the lineage, now we're going down. So what has been made with it? And this is, in my opinion, a good indication of a good strain is just how many strains just listed on here have been made with this, going down
shit, dude,
all the way to 7 generations.
Whoa.
Look at this, minimum 7 generations.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot of strains.
It really is.
Cool.
Holy shit.
It's the Dolato that's got the moonbow.
In what?
And Dolato.
It's
Dolato and then Dolato times moonbow is the cross. And Dolato is gelato and dosido.
So Dolato times moonbow is 1.
Is Dolato, yeah.
I don't think we took clones out there yet of that. I think those are all still
In the cloner.
in the cloner. And
That's the one.
dude, there's like 16 different things going on over here right now. We got that's just the pheno hunt thing going. Our normal rotation is we take clones, we move clones up into, you know, a baby veg, you know, and then from we also moved on the same day. We moved clones from baby veg into, late teenage veg. And then on the same day, we moved late teenage veg into bloom. So we do basically a full everything, in the single day, just about every 15 to 18 days. Try not to go over that. And then, so that's four different bloom cycles, one going in every 15 to 18 days. That's basically our rotation. And then, so that's always happening. That's just our normal rotation. So right now we're trying to fit in our pheno hunt into that normal rotation, right? So we're bringing out and putting in from here, replacing the workload out there, where before it was take plants from here out there because I didn't have my shit together, and it's weird because it's back to taking plants back out there, but we still have production going. So it's a whole extra bit of a headache having plants here. Cool. It's great having all these new varieties, but we have an extra stack of plants here to also take care of. We have all of our mothers out there, all of our veg plants out there. And now there's a whole other thing of veg plants, which is great. I'm all about it. You know what I mean? But it's also something you have to water those plants. We don't have any automation set up here. So it's all hand watering and everything. And on top of that, our entire organic garden is being started at the same time. For Gurley, I know you were talking on the last show about your pheno hunt happening, your annual pheno hunt happening this time of year. And I kind of tend to do mine this time of year also. And I think it just coincides with seed popping season just because, it's winter time. I'm ready to fucking get some shit going. I got my indoor garden for cannabis. If I can't pop anything else, I might as well get something going. I feel like, me personally, I don't know about you. I don't know if you get, like you just have so many plants seeded out it all of a sudden. And I'm not talking about cannabis. I'm talking about now all of a sudden we have, a couple trays of peppers, a couple trays of tomatoes. We now have flowers. We're about to start beans and all kinds of, squash and everything. We're trying to slow our roll there, but all of our broccoli and all that stuff got sowed in fucking February. Like, we've had a whole fucking thing. And it's like, should I start doing my pheno hunting either in fall or in summer after spring, after I'm done with my outdoor garden? Because the outdoor garden plus a pheno hunt is like, pull my hair.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of work. So everybody who does their pheno hunting in the spring at this time, it just makes sense. I get it. So commend you on putting through and persevering through it all. It is a lot of work. And anybody that does it, man, congratulations on keeping it up.
Well, I need no commending because, like I kind of hinted at, I'm pretty sure I actually started these seeds in like December or something like that because I'm flowering them out now, and raspberry parfait has already been harvested, and squirt is, in the middle of flower or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely ahead of the game in that way. But there you go, raspberry parfait.
That's right.
I would
raspberry parfait.
Nice. That's why you're talking so much. No. Yeah, I mean, it's go with a full moon, go with when it's convenient, go with when you're popping everything else. Like, you'll find out very quickly probably when you shouldn't do it. But, honestly, it's like, I don't know. Do you want to be ritualistic about it? It's really up to your philosophy, right? Like, you could be ritualistic about it. Same time every year, same amount of seeds, same type, whatever. Or you could just be kind of popping seeds all year long. Some people love doing that too. So, I wouldn't get too tied up in how you go about doing it, but I would pay attention to how many you're going to try to do, because that can get overbearing very quickly, and just cause more problems than give you answers. And then, shoot for something like you're really interested in, or something that's got some like unique value to it, or a certain terp profile you're looking for, or something. There's a lot, like we just saw with that one, lineage line of the cube going up and down. We saw how many strains there are out there. So, you got to catch them all. There's no way you're going to, but there's a lot of options. So I don't know. You would probably fall in line there too.
That's the biggest issue I see with like trying to find one keeper or two keepers of a strain and you pop so many seeds, first you got to figure out if they're male or female and then figure out the profile. But you also have to take clones before you flower them. It's just like it's a lot for one strain to do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
we're
then you're doing a dozen or something like.
16 maybe,
Oh my god,
12,
that's so many.
and some of them are regular, some are femmes.
Which,
Yeah, it is a little different when you're doing femmes, knowing that they're all going to go to flower. You can kind of have a schedule, but with the, having regular seeds, like you can assume that 50% of them are going to get tossed, but it might only be 20%, and then it's like, oh, I don't have enough room for these, or it might be like 80%, and you're like, maybe I should have popped more seeds,
Is there really a lot of difference in fem seeds, like in the traits that you're going to
In
see?
these raspberry parfait, yes, there was 3 very distinct different phenotypes of it, and one of the phenotypes had 2 varying levels of quality to the 2 plants.
it can be difficult picking a winner if you even pick one at all. Like I know people keep 3 different, phenos of the same strain just because they're different profiles, and you get different profiles. I mean, why do you need to run a bunch of different genetics? You're getting 2 different profiles,
Yeah, that's like Jilly Bean, man. I had 3 different distinct flavors of Jilly Bean. Like, I gotta got my Sprite, my orange, and my lemon lime or whatever. I guess that's kind of Sprite. What was the other one? Oh, it was the strawberry shortcake. That's what it was.
I guess that's why I don't run a full pack either, because of, I mean, that's my reason for not running a full pack. I'll run like 3 or 4 seeds of a 10 pack, but I'll do like 4 or 5 different packs of seed, different strains, different, different. That way it's not just a pheno hunt through one variety. It's a pheno hunt through a bunch of different varieties, rather than just one. And if I do run into that scenario where, everything's really dialed in and I got a bunch of stuff that's, there's not just nuance, differences, and it's not going to take much to pick a winner. You know what I mean? The Rainbow Driver was really tough to pick a winner. There was only 2 seeds, and they were in both plants, smelled almost identical to each other. They were super gassy, and the structure was almost identical to each other. You can almost not tell the difference. And so when I smoked the 2, it was that smoke test that got me, and I was like, the one actually most people would have liked the other one if I would have kept it, because it was super narcotic. You hit the shit, you're like, and the other one is just not that. And I can't have that stuff that makes me nod out. And like, I mean, like you get very, very, very sedated, like to the point of nodding out. You're like, like, you ever eat melatonin? You ever take melatonin or
try to fight your Ambien?
Trying to fight, like you're fighting medication or something like that. Yeah.
No, these shrooms won't get me this time. All right, so we've talked a lot about the things we do like, and and actually before I ask this question, I gotta say, as a forewarning to those of you out there that are thinking about doing maybe a little bit bigger pheno hunt than you might be prepared for, the surprise really comes on the clone side, when you have to take clones of so many plants. And realistically, you're probably going to take more than 1 clone of each of those plants. And if you have more than 1 clone of each of those phenos, root quickly and healthily and everything, you might just want to put those in a pot, right? And so all of a sudden your 16 strains become 48 clones, and now you got 40 of them in pots, and your veg room is just way overtaken, and more than likely those are going to be ready to go into flower before you're even done harvesting the pheno hunt. You know what I mean? It's quite possible that happens. So yeah, that's just where I get overwhelmed on the pheno hunt, I think. That or just popping too many in the first place.
It's like all of a sudden and
Yeah, those
they're
clones come real quick.
growing into the lights way faster than you think they should.
Yep, that's where I'm at right now. So question, we've talked a lot about the things we do and don't like about certain cultivars and doing the pheno hunts and stuff. I'm going to throw this to everybody, but I want Tara to answer it first, because I want to put her in the spot because she's been quiet. What would make the perfect strain for you? Thinking of all the different things that we've talked about and still could. What's the perfect strain look and smell and taste and feel and whatever grow like for you, Tara?
It's really hard right now because I love Rainbow Belts. So I'm a huge Rainbow Belts freak. But then I love my GMO and I love this Cowboy Yeti, the taste of it and the smell. The high's not really there for me. If I could get that, but then there's GG4, so then I've got GG4 here too. So it's like, I'm like, I need something that's going to help my stomach, help me eat. That's my biggest thing. That's my biggest medical problem is my stomach. So if there is something that is all around going to help me, be able to have a nice, easy stomach in the morning and not make, increase. I find that like if I have a sativa, it increases my nausea. So, and it also makes me too anxious, and I don't like to be anxious at all. So I usually like something that's real mellow. That's why GG4, GMO, those are always a very nice low key for me. But I don't know. I love so many things right now, and I have so many seeds to pop to find others to love. So, I don't know.
All right, so you basically just gave us. You mentioned taste, smell, and effect, but you only explained effect, which is the appetite, like soothing it. I could also see increasing or suppressing appetite because I've definitely like lost weight through the use of cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
You can also increase your appetite through the use of cannabis, that's for sure. But that's usually the only one that gets mentioned is the munchies, right? Nothing else about maybe soothing.
I find myself getting the munchies that much.
No, I don't really, and not very rarely, I guess.
Yeah.
Until we start talking about it after this show, man. Gosh dang it. And then, also in terms of effects, you want something that's mellow and not like anxiety inducing or whatever. So kind of staying away from that typical like sativa effect, maybe going for more of that indica. But what about the taste and the smell? Like what kind of taste are you looking for? What kind of smell are you looking for? And I want to talk about the growing aspect too. Like, do you like Red was saying, internodal spacing? Like maybe it likes a lot of light or likes a lot of nutrients or just loves growing in the lights, or maybe it clones easy, like all that stuff too. But taste and smell. We're still smoking it right now. What's your like goes? I don't know. Your perfect smell and taste.
Ooh. I have to say Rainbow Belts is a really, really big taste, smell. A sherb, I love the taste of a sherb. I have some biscotti from Old Man Hermitage right now, and the taste of this.
That was good.
So good. So if we could package that up all the time right there, I'd be down with that. So, but here's the other thing. So his way of growing that biscotti might not be the way that it'll come out and express itself through the way I grow or the way you grow, So there's, something I always tend to like. I tend to forget that a lot. That everybody's growing method might bring out a different representation of that flower. So yeah, I think a lot of the way you grow helps determine what like Dan, I've got the GG4 now. I'm freaking out that my GG4 that's going to come out isn't going to taste like his, and I'm like, I gotta have the way that Dan's taste, So
yeah, I get that, and I always say that my, nothing's changed about my like cultivars, like Lime Skunk, for example, right? Like it's the same cut. But I did have someone, so actually an old dispensary client of mine, saw me at the Hash Bash, acquired some Lime Skunk, and then DM me like a day later and was like, hey man, like I think this Lime Skunk's even better than I remember it, and then he sent me a picture of like, all these shades like Star Killer and I don't know if Bewitched was in there, but like a handful of the Sweet Pink Pie and like these real old jars with like the old style text and all this on there. And I'm like, well, honestly, like it's the same cut and everything. I just grown in soil now. Like it's the only difference. My processing process is pretty much the same still. It's got to be very, very similar to what I was doing back then. Maybe just slightly different equipment or whatever, bigger, wider or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I'll take that if it's getting better. I definitely don't want it to get worse, but it just maybe being in soil over cocoa has made it to him taste better, so that's cool.
You've also grown it for so long, like you just really dial in that plant and what it needs, when to harvest it at the right time. Like that all plays such a big role. Like with us, people tell us often, like, oh, this gets better and better every harvest. We hear that often, and I think it's just so many variables. But life's good.
That's why I was pushing back on Spartan. Was it a week or two ago? Talking about, I think it was last week, talking about the raspberry parfait, and he's like, well, which one? Which one out of the 5? Which one? And I'm like, well, it's probably this one, but like I definitely want to like give it another shot. And he's like, why? Just cut it and just go with the one. It's like, well, I could dial something in, and maybe I actually get better production out of that frosty purple one. And now I've got that extra bonus bag appeal, quote unquote, of that. And like, maybe then I want to take that one over the other one that's just way chunkier and smells the same. It's just not as pretty, and it's like, I don't know, maybe, it's kind of unlikely it'll change that much, but I do like trying to dial things in before I totally cut them out of the garden.
Like Becca said, it takes so long to do a pheno hunt. And that's one of the reasons I'm like, I like to run something at least a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is that it's letting it, for us, I mean, we're moving environments. So, we got to let it get used to the environment out there. I want to run it, and I want to know, did I run it good in this spot, or should I move it to a different spot of the room and run it over there? Run it in my other room too. I have 2 different rooms, even though the environments say that they're the same according to the digital display. Sometimes it seems like I get different crops coming out of the rooms, and I get different size crops. There's some nuance environmental thing, even though the displays are, all, I can move things around and they all read the same. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I think that I like Citrique, right? I like that lime. I like haze for days. I like that like smooth. It hits you in the forehead, not so much the lower mustache area. When you smoke it right off the rip, you can see in the back of the throat back here, and the flavor kind of lingers. But you also get the flavor down to the end of the doobie. Flows like that with me as well. There's some floral element. There's a pine element. There's definitely an uplifting Terra, unfortunately, anxious and maybe anxiety-inducing element to those varietals that I enjoy smoking. But I like that you posed the question, what strains do you like to do this, rather than what do you like to do to change your strains? Rather than posing the question as what do you like to change in your grow method to change the way that you get your strain? Because I think that the information that we get on our palate, the information we get inside of our body, comes from the different varietals, not in the way that we grow. I do think that there is something in the way that we grow, but that's going to be that's going to be a nuance across all varietals you might subtly notice or change. Might subtly change this or that, but that's going to be across many maybe not all varietals, but many varietals. Whereas I think that if you want an uplifting effect, you chase out that varietal. You don't change your growing method or change your inputs to get that. I don't personally, harvest at a different time to change the effects. I will search out a different cannabinoid profile, etc. Same with, I don't want to add any boosters or sugars or anything like that. The best I'll do is I'll just keep magnesium sulfate going for a little bit of sulfur in the end. But, I could probably get a similar effect if I didn't do that.
Would you say effect is number one overall?
But actually, that's for all genetics. I don't do that for a single genetic. For me, no, it's not just effect, because a lot of it is nuance, subtlety effect that I like, but a lot of it is flavor because I'm a joint smoker. I'm a flower. I don't know. I just enjoy the puffing on the flower. So I like that part. What I like about hash and stuff is you can mix varieties very easy and almost recreate something if you wanted to, or create something altogether with
Mhm.
many varieties. You could do a whole blend of salad, and have all of these different varieties in there. So that's what's nice about hash and concentrate. But as far as just a flour, specifically a flour smoker, I think it's really important to choose varieties, and I think that poses a good question when you ask what is varietal, because I chase it, and that's what I like about fetal hunting is searching out different varietals so that I can gauge that effect. You know what I mean? And then once I find that varietal, if I want to fuck around with my growing style and see what I can change within those effects, I will. Otherwise, I enjoy the differences, the nuanced differences in varieties. And I enjoy the consistency in the grow method that we carry, because it's not expensive, it's not cost heavy, it's consistent to our consumer. There's a lot of reasons to not change your grow method or your environment and keep that stable, and then work in genetics that meet that, specifically.
I think the flavors got to stand out. I think in our pheno hunt that we're doing now, I've never done this before, but I'm definitely looking for something that's going to stand out, different than what I'm used to. I would really like something that is a strong grower. We've got a couple strains that are real like floppy. They don't hold themselves up very well. So I know that doesn't super matter because you can trellis, but I think growing wise, that would be a plus in any of the strains.
You guys grow too much nug meat, it just makes some branches want to fall over.
It's like effect overall, like the bag appeal doesn't really matter if your effect and flavors there, in my opinion. Like Rainbow Driver has no bag appeal, I would say. It's pretty fugly, and it's the best, and people don't care. And so that's overall really what is going to matter for me.
And not to change topic too far, but
Go for it.
A lot of these varietals get lost in the matrix through individual needs, right? A lot of the the industry side, commercialization side of it, chasing ROI and things like that. You're looking for yield heavy. Most importantly, most of the time, you also want to have your numbers are top heavy. With THC being the top heavy number, and then also with today's market being washability mostly. Does it have a resin that's going to fall off of it, per that yield that you use, or do you need more yield? Do you need more biomass to get a smaller amount of hash? They're going to kick it, and so I think that we lose out on a lot of varietals for the industrialization or the conventionality of the industry, whereas the home growers, the ones looking for those little nuance effects that are just popping 3-4 seeds out of a pack and holding on to that one keeper. They didn't even go through the whole pack and they found a keeper. Keep it. Sometimes you got to keep it. You might share it with somebody and think they're going to keep it, and it doesn't wash or whatever for them. We don't all consume the same. A lot of people I share genetics with, they'd end up getting rid of them because they don't hash, and so be it. You need a little bit more of a yield on the flower end to get a little bit more of the product, but the product's better. The product can be better. The product can be a lot better. I mean, in nuance effect, and in that some of these, terpenoline heavy, pine heavy, what would you say? Lime, especially the limes, the citruses. The trichome structures on all those plants are so different. Some trichomes don't even have heads. Stitholithic hairs, they don't even have heads. And so to chase varietal based on a size of a gland head, it's like some glands are You know, it's just a stalk, but it's not a stalk. You know, it's not a stalk, it's a trichome. You know, and it's that greasy, skunky, funky, you know, that's what I like. I like that variety. And like Becca says, something's going to hold itself up. See, that's usually not in that variety. You know, those,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
not true.
What's going to hold itself up is usually a nice
Afghani squatty.
Afghani.
Our strawberries and cream,
Yeah.
like the stalks are super thick, but the nugs get so big on it that that weighs it down.
Yeah.
Lemon
yeah.
do-si-do, nice thick stalks usually.
That'll hold itself up.
Flow,
Yeah, flow will hold
is
itself
pretty.
up for the most part. Especially outdoor, all those plants will definitely hold themselves up. And strawberries and cream is actually one that will definitely hold itself up.
You guys ready for this?
Oh, nice.
Oh god.
Like rapids. Look, those are like boulders in the rapids.
Yeah.
Like a melting ice cap.
So
Yeah.
this Cowboy Yeti smells so good, and it's so frosty, but it's like real floppy. I don't want to say it's not airy. So okay, that's not the right word for it. It's not airy because it's got nice. The buds are nice. They're just not weighty. They just not real. They just don't have a lot of weight to them, and they just flop right the fuck over.
Like GMO kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, but even it gets a little bit, they do get a little bit more fuller than a GMO, and the node spacing is super nice, but it's just light. I don't know how else to describe it other than because it's not like real, like, I don't want to say it's like larky bud. It's not like that, but it's got that kind of thin, like not real weighty feel to it. But it's super frosty, and this is the second time we ran it through. And
Would you say it's almost like hazy? Like hazy nugs are like more speary, like not. They're typically not that frosty, but they're not like super dense either.
yeah, they're just not really dense. I mean, they look nice, but just to feel it in that there's no weight there at all.
Are they dense? Like feel dense when they're growing, but they kind of dry, like dry, light, if you will. You know.
No, because it even feels wet right now. Like, you know, while we're harvesting and then that, they're very light feeling. But it felt like this the last time too. So I don't, you know, I kept thinking maybe it was something I did, but it just might be a trait of the plant. I don't know. So we'll see. You're getting what, 3, 4 of them?
Can't wait.
4? Is it 4? Yeah, 4 of them.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't think there's much weight there on those. I know when the last 2 we harvested, they didn't yield too much.
One thing, one thing, yeah, that's the thing. If it's got the terps, we can still get those out of there, you know. One thing you guys haven't mentioned yet, and that comes to mind for me, which, you know, you kind of find out accidentally, and hopefully you never have to, but is like diseased and pest resistance, because, you know, knock on wood, I have some very disease and pest resistant plants, and I owe that to, I think, the genetics. You know, because I've had like powdery mildew outbreaks that have taken out like 2/3 of my genetics in the past. You know, I don't know if I've dealt with any like spider mite or any kind of like bug issues that like took out any crops, but definitely powdery mildew, and that really stinks. So having a plant that's resistant to that kind of stuff is like so helpful. It just makes growing that, you know, just incredibly that much easier. And just like dialing in a strain, you can dial in your environment, you know, which, so again, like hopefully those are accidental findings, you know, finding out which plants are not resistant. But for me, it's like, just cut them. I just don't want to deal with it again in the future, you know.
If you're talking about outdoor, that's certainly
That too. It's a good point.
requirement, you know, in Michigan, at least when it gets
That might be a good way to test it, honestly, is just run an outdoor crop of the pheno hunt, you know what I mean? Like the clones maybe or something, you know.
the rainbow driver sucks outside. I know my environmental fundamentals ever went out of whack indoor, the Rainbow Driver would probably be the first to go. You know, it just sucks to say, but it gets PM outdoor.
50% of why I chopped Mr. Clean is because it just did nothing outdoor. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well,
That's a weird one too, where our citrique gets huge outdoor, but the flowers don't grow. It's weird, and I don't know if there's been a nutrient deficiency or something going on, but it grows. It's almost like it doesn't get enough food, and it just needs a little extra boost. But it grows.
Is it yellow early?
Yellow early.
Yeah, because my lime skunk does that too, dude, outdoors. And it's just because I think it's a nitrogen deficiency thing where I've seen this in soils that don't have enough nutrients in them, or when I grow in soil in too small of pots or something, and like come week 6 of flower, everything starts yellowing out. It's because it's like just sucking up everything that's left in the, well, there's not a whole lot left, I guess, in the rhizosphere. So it's using what's left in the leaves, the fan leaves, so the nutrients, and just kind of like flushing early, it looks like, or finishing early, and then you just don't get that actual last push of production. And I think it's just I think lime skunk is a nitrogen heavy feeder because it does stretch so much and put on so much of that mass up top and everywhere, I guess, that you almost have to, like, you know, I guess just give it more worm castings or like some recharge or, you know, whatever, something that's going to help the nitrogen.
Is it smaller inside?
It just gets huge outside. It just gets I mean, Clementine does too. It's insane. Like Mr. Clean is like a third of the size.
Citrique's like little short squat little fucker indoor, and then outdoor it just got big. Well, it just probably just vegged long enough that it got big enough.
But it was like the healthiest it's ever looked.
I don't think it flowered any bigger than what it does. Like it flowers like it does like a 50% tops. You know what I mean? Maybe 30% stretch in flower, which is usually uncommon for like a narrow leaf varietal, something that is limey and skunky. You know, usually that's going to have more stretch to it. You know, I'm talking about 20, 30, barely stretches in flower. It'd be great for like a vertical system or something like that, especially for the profile that it has. I wish it would do better outdoors, and it very well may. And maybe what it needs is a good old pile of chicken shit to grow too, because there's a lot of nitrogen.
Some rabbit poo or something.
Like a hoop.
we have some that's been composting since last summer that I should rock and roll with. On that, maybe that's what that specific varietal needs, is a little extra. Something outdoor to prep our areas is get our market garden together. And what we're doing this year is we've got 30-inch permanent raised beds. These beds are not bordered by anything. They are just raised in the fact that we dug out the topsoil through the pathway, put that on the beds, and then finish off the pathways with some wood chips. You could also have a living pathway if you wanted to mow that down and use that in your system. But use wood chips on a 30-inch bed. I can straddle it leg to leg, pathway to pathway. I can straddle, or pathway to pathway. I can straddle the bed so I can work it and not step on the bed itself. I can also, facing the bed, I can work halfway into the bed without stepping on the bed. So it's ergonomically, sound, in the space for what I'm doing. We finally set it up so that it works with, irrigation or anything like that, with just straight beds, none of this, curvy beds, at least in this area. I do like some permaculture, gilded, out of whack, or out of the ordinary bedding type stuff, which we do have. And this is also a no-till. We did dig it out once, hit it with the broad fork and kind of mixed it in, did that. But otherwise, it's not going to be tilled. We didn't use a tiller or anything. It was an area that we used too much wood chips on, and we grew nothing there last year because nitrogen has been tied up heavily by those wood chips. So now that the chickens have been back in this area and adding plenty of nitrogen to these wood chips, we raked it all away. Put the wood chips in the pathways and And now we're going to add grass clippings filled with nitrogen to the tops of these beds. The areas where our spring crops are right now, we're putting, some broccoli and shit like that in the ground, cabbage. We hope to have all of that done and out by the end of June, by the time we put our cannabis in the ground. So,
quick question: why couldn't you just top dress the chicken manure or compost on top of the wood chips?
because I wanted the wood chips in the pathways,
Okay.
and so I wanted it.
This is the original garden he made here, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of shapes inside this huge garden. And then last year we took all the shapes away and just made huge beds that we were going to do pumpkins and squash in. But we also put like a lot of the wood chips that we got here all in that bed. And so it was just too much. None of the squash survived. The pumpkins did not grow. And so we decided to reset it again and just, take those away, still use them because they're very useful.
Get those vines in the pathways then, because they need the sun, and you guys got a lot of plants. So, obviously you got to get some light, or you probably do them up on some trellis or something, won't you?
Yeah, well,
We're going to not do them there this year because they're more shallow rooted. And so nitrogen was really tied up, right at the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what screwed us on that.
so
But
the pathways are 12 inches.
Oh yeah, okay. So
Very narrow pathway in between these beds, and the idea of these beds is not a we are going to grow cannabis down one of these beds, but these are high intensity biodynamic planting beds, where you grow fast turnover crops like lettuces, radishes. Basically, it's a market. It's designed after the market garden. So this book right here talks a lot of the 30-inch bed, and you can kind of see what he's working right there. He's working a 30-inch bed, and the reason it's a 30-inch bed is the ergonomic reasons that I talked about, but also a lot of the tools, hand tools specifically, are designed to rock through that. And then also this book right here, the Living Soil Handbook, Jesse Frost has some of the best YouTube content on these methods of growing, and you can see his beds right there. See the lettuce up on top. There's many heads of lettuce per square foot. Rather than being in a straight row like a tractor would plant a straight row, and then there would be a row of lettuce and then a pathway, and then a row of lettuce and then a pathway. So, you for every 10 linear feet, you've only got 5 rows. Where in this system, every 10 linear feet, you actually have more like 8 rows, 9 rows, almost 10 rows. And these are just examples. I mean, other crops more intense, arugula and things. And so there's like five criteria that a crop needs to make it into these beds. One of them is a long seasonality. Yeah, no. Yeah. You don't just grow pumpkins in these beds. You don't just grow potatoes, but you can grow potatoes in these beds. But like the idea for specifically turning over crops is some of the long seasonality, some that you're able to grow in the wintertime. For example, we put hoops over a couple of these beds. These beds being 30 inches wide and 1 foot pathway gives you a 6 foot edge to edge between 2 beds. And that means that a 6 foot hoop, when you take a 10-foot pole and create a circumference, half of that circumference is exactly 6 feet. And the reason I use 10-foot pole is because EMT conduit, without having to cut any of that, is 10 feet long, or a piece of PVC or anything like that is 10 feet. And so you can make a perfect hoop over 6 feet of a width. In this case, 2 beds, and then you create caterpillar tunnels, and you can extend your season into the winter with these specific crops, arugula, spinach, kale, some things like that. Many different brassica types, lettuces will get us into the winter times, especially definitely late fall, early spring. We have broccoli in the ground outside right now. We have lettuce outside. Any of that kind of stuff you can definitely get. You totally seed your carrots and all that. If your carrots pop up, they might die if you get a frost, but not with that sort of cover on there. But anyways, short days to maturity is another criteria. 60 days is the best. Lots of crops finish in 60 days from transplant. You put lettuce in the ground at 60 days, it's going to be able to be harvested. Most of your, leafy greens, especially most of your leafy greens, you can get carrots and some varieties. Now, a lot of the variety you get Burke Bee pack of seeds, that's a 100-day carrot. You go into a specific seed stock, you might get 16 different varieties of carrots to choose from. Some of them might be a 50-day carrot.
Mm-hmm.
And, so like there's a lot of stuff that we just don't have access to at the, let's say, box store level. You go to the seed shelf at, your local box store, sounds like Moe's or maybe Loam Depot or, something like that. One of those places. You might just have one type of pole bean right there that might have a very long seasonality to it, or a bush bean that has a long season, or not a long season, but a long amount to maturity, 100 days of maturity or whatever. But if you find an heirloom variety or something, you get 60 days, run that in the system. You can turn it over multiple times throughout the year. Every 60 days, that's only 2 months. We've got at least 4, 5, 6 months of growing weather throughout the season. So if you can pump those through, that's that's a criteria. High marketability is a criteria. Just basic stuff like that are criteria on what you should put in the system. Cost of seeds, some things like that. But but yeah, basically it's planting things very densely together. We are incorporating the market system because, well, we want to provide food to the community. We want to grow more food, not just for ourselves, but for more people. And in doing that, we're also still keeping in the permaculture game. We've got perennials and fruit trees. And so Becca spent her whole day the other day moving perennials in this space. This space we're describing over the last 5 years has been changed over and over and over. Was just a no-till, chop and drop food forest. I've let strawberries, mint, name it, just let it take over. Radishes come up every year. The seeds fall every year. I haven't planted a radish in that garden in 4 years, and I get radishes out of there all year, every year. It's the food forest, So there's yarrow, sage, and all kinds of stuff just sporadically planted throughout the space. And Becca went through and took a lot of, the daisies and chopped them all up and made a bunch of daisies. Went through with daylilies. This is the time right now, at least in our zone, to get stuff up and moved if you want to create a new space and you want to keep what you're moving around. Get it under some shade, harden it off. And then the cannabis is going to eventually go in these spaces, but not until like June. We'll bring our plants outside, but they're going to need some light. We're not going to put them in the ground away from being, some people call it candle lighting, something like that. We're north up by the 45th parallel, and our plants will start to flower if I put these. I guess I could check for males that way. I could just put everything outside, or super early on and see if the males pop out. But yeah, that'll happen. So it's kind of like this finite time you can put your stuff outside unless you got to supplement the light into the evening or early in the morning. But we're going to actually put our stuff outside because we do have we do have the ability to do that. We do have a small little greenhouse. We can get our plants outside early and get everything hardened off. So we're also doing a plant sale this year and growing tons of vegetables for the community, so they can grow their own food as well. So Rosemary's Oasis, if you are, rosemariesoasis.com is our website, and we've got fun stuff on there. Our CBD, Red Sutter Farms CBD, Pet CBD. Our Pet CBD is on that website right now. We have, what else is on the website right now? Our seeds, our CBD stock seeds are on our website. Green Room is the male. Green Room is AC/DC and Otto, something like that. Otto, OTTO. It's those are like hemp varieties, high CBD varieties, very low THC, less than 0.3%, according to the pack of seeds. I grew those out in like 2019. Got a really nice male and female. I let do the thing out there, and along with all the other genetics back in 2019. And I had some F2s off of, the best female that I got. And those F2s I ended up running last year or the year before. And we ended up making 3 or 4 different males in an open pollination out there with Death Star, Rainbow Driver, Citric,
All of our stuff.
yeah, like everything. Gorilla Breath, Strawberries and Cream, Lemon Dozy Dough. So we have just about all of our genetics with the open pollinated Green Room F2, female or males. So there's a ton of potential in those packs, and those are on that website. So we put our Rosemary's Oasis, basically our apothecary, get up and started, and we're advertising our plant sale. It's local. We're not shipping plants. We're not doing that whole thing yet. That'll be something in the future, but we're doing public meet and greets and things like that. We'll have peppers and tomatoes at the Fledge for Third Eye Craft Affair. Maybe at this, dude, it's been so nice. By the 28th, people might be wanting plants. I don't know, but definitely by like the 11th Craft Affair, we'll have plants with us. Basil or herbs, all kinds of stuff, and then all that stuff's going in our permaculture garden. So we're excited to fucking grow, man. We're growing with the community. We're growing, our fucking home garden. We're growing our commercial garden. The commercial garden, I say that just because it's just zoned commercial, but the that garden is going to be a market garden. And so we're starting that slowly. That'll be this summer's project. We started compost already, started a compost pile, and we started garlic. I guess those are the 2 main things you need to start, according to what we did. Definitely the compost pile. I would say start a compost pile, because you're probably going to have debris and shit in your yard that you're going to want to clean up. Start a compost pile. But we started garlic because we started our garden in the winter. So that's one thing you can plant in the winter. So exactly. It's one thing you can plant in the winter. Planted that. We're going to put a tarp down and throw your tarps down, guys. Panda film. They got old panda film laying around. Use it to kill your grass. It's silage tarp. It's the same thing. It's silage tarp. In fact, get silage tarp instead of panda film. You might save a green tax. Look into farming industry, man. The farming industry has all the shit we use in cannabis, and it's like, I don't know, a third of the price cheaper. It's wild. Man, might be caught.
We did just do a dab of raspberry parfait.
Yes.
That was
Thank you
real.
Yes. So, all right, guys, enough of the ear bashing. I'll let everybody else.
I'm not gonna lie, I hit garlic punch, and it punched me in the head.
I had Nuttree clip one of the Cowboy Yetis, so we can have it.
Hiding that this whole time, Tara? You just pull Doink out and
Nuttree's behind the
Just
scenes.
waiting for it. He's back behind here working. But so it's a very well shaped. It's got nice internode spacing. I'm happy with that. It's just, the top is nice and dense, but these are a little just, but it's not bad. It's not bad spacing. I'm not unhappy with that. Even as we get down a little further here, here, let me get back on camera. I'm not unhappy with that part. It gets a little floppy, and I don't know, just needs maybe a little extra love or something. I don't know. We'll see. But it smells so good.
It's like it's kind of like our flow, like the individual buds as it goes down kind of get a little looser.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's not larfy or anything like that. It's just like lighter is all. So it's nice. It smells really nice. But the high is just not all the way there for me. It doesn't pack a punch like I like.
You need some garlic punch in your life.
I always need garlic punch in my life. Oh,
Helps, right?
Jar's got a little, it was a smell jar. It's got a little bit of dirt I've been avoiding. I should really just pick it out, but
just smoke it. You'll never worry about it. Just smoke it.
Somebody's nose dirt that fell in there.
Just scrape off the top layer of terps.
That's funny.
Good.
I hope it's not somebody's nose candy.
Oh God.
I won't get the
That's
profile. I'll be talking like we just smoked raspberry parfait.
We're stoked though because our whole tent's going to Fergoli, so everything we've got here is going to be going to Fergoli to have him work his magic. So 12 plants will be heading out Tuesday. I know. I'm super excited. We're dankrupt, so we need it.
It's never a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it all turns out.
Me too.
Got a lot of good smells in there, and it's just like, this is going to be some good stuff.
It's what matters. The terps what matter.
Yeah.
Before I forget, you were talking about like long harvest times, Red, and I had to pull up my giant spreadsheet because I knew there was a couple in there that were long, and I have a total of 6 strains, I guess we'll call it, plants that have a harvest date of quote unquote exactly 365 days. And they're perennials, of course, but it's baby's breath, columbine, tritoma, butterfly weed, echinacea, and lupine. I don't know how to.
I was gonna say it sounds like varieties of flowers of some sort.
I did grow baby's breath last year, and I was able to harvest some, and it reseeds really easy. So my guess is it just like kind of perpetually grows and then gets really big. I just had some, little vines of it. And echinacea, I think, is like a root. Like you want to harvest the root sometimes, so maybe that's why it takes so long.
Okay.
But also perennial.
Yeah, you're probably just, it's probably not really, you're probably not getting anything to harvest the first year. You know what I mean? Much like lavender and some of those.
Herbs like oregano, parsley, I've struggled in first years, but then just gets better every year.
Sorry, I was gonna say a lot of herbs are just need a lot of drainage, need sand, things like that. Just a completely different plant altogether. Like rosemary and stuff. Those are like they're like Mediterranean desert plants, high desert plants. They're like great in like the Rockies. We were in the Rockies, and there's just wild rosemary and lavender. Well, I don't think it's wild. I think that the Forest Service puts a lot of it in, but there's also like in the woods, there's just lavender.
That's cool.
Rosemary everywhere. Maybe lavender, maybe not rosemary.
Rosemary is more fickle.
We've got a couple other ones. The 120-day harvest for German chamomile. This is a good one. Utah tall celery from Baker Creek Seeds is 110 days. That one is actually our same row of it last year. I was looking at it today. Is nice and green. This is for early pointed it out. It's like all of the plants are back, looking great. I assume we're just going to start reproducing. We didn't pull anything out, we just harvested and they're back. So that's cool because I didn't think they were perennials or anything, but they're still growing.
Light frost. My chamomile survived from last year.
This past year, everything's a perennial. Like we have parsley that did not die. It's back.
Like 3 of them.
I'm surprised the rosemary actually faded. Sometimes the rosemary will last until like January, until a deep frost, and then it'll die. This year the frost killed it.
We had those days.
It didn't kill a lot of stuff. Like it didn't kill the parsley. What else was back there? We had snapdragons that are still alive.
Chamomile. I had 2 chamomile that really didn't produce all last year in our back garden, and they're green and like starting to grow more. That reseeds really easily also if you leave some of the flowers, but they also get thrips really easy. So when you harvest, you'll see them a lot. And so I always wash them off.
Our arugula seeded itself in the fall. And so we had little baby arugula plants, and they survived all winter long. And the snow, we had that foot of snow drop, and the snow melted, and they greened right up, and they were right there. They were under, those ones specifically were underneath a little clear tote. And so on a couple of those really hot days, we did not remove that tote. And so what we have is like, I don't know, a foot foot away from it. We have a few arugula that are like big arugula now, and they have big leaves on them, nice, spicy, delicious arugula leaves, and they're thriving. And the ones that got like kind of heated up a little bit are just kind of stunted, but there's still they're more like a baby green arugula, and it's a little mat of it.
They might grow again.
They might continue to grow, but it's almost like the arugula that did not get any cover is thriving right now, and the stuff that did get a cover was meh. You
It's
know,
just like you said, it's that light frost and stuff. We really didn't get like a heavy winter snow or anything. We got a couple snowfalls, but nothing crazy. We had a tornado in February though, so that's cool. Another long harvest dates. You know, outside of pumpkins, I got one. I guess a couple different. It's not. It's glass gem corn. I just got a couple different vendors or whatever.
one. Yeah.
It's like 110 days or something, I think too. But yeah, pumpkins. You know, I get some of those that go real long.
And we might do some corn on one of our market beds, possibly. Well, on one of the ones on the back, yeah, we might just put our corn in there just because we don't
should
put it.
Do 4 rows.
We don't have nowhere else to put it. Is the only problem. So
We never get good. In the past, we haven't gotten good harvest from corn from earwigs, so that's like our biggest battle.
Can you just diatomaceous earth an entire corn plot?
yeah, dude. The problem is, it's if you water it or it rains,
lumpy and stuff.
Yeah, it just doesn't work right after you do that. The best bet with earwigs is soy sauce and vegetable oil, and you make a little trap, and the soy sauce smell will attract them to it. And so basically you could use, let's say this is a hollow dish, and we have soy sauce and stuff in here, and then we just bury this dish so at the top is soil level, so that they're like, I'm gonna crawl in and see what this is, and then they basically fall in and drown.
The oil
captures them, and then we give them to the chickens. That is our method to go to this year. I like the trapping method with a lot of stuff. The Japanese beetles. We get Japanese beetle traps with a aromatic disc that they are attracted to, and then they get going into a little plastic reservoir. And we feed all that stuff to our chickens. We turn pests into eggs. A lot of it is, the idea of permaculture is not just closing loops, but it's working with nature, and it's finding natural solutions. Sometimes, physical barriers are natural solutions, things like that to avoid disturbing, I guess, the balance of what's going on. And yeah, we're going to grow plants, specifically that may disturb that balance. But the idea is to also have areas within this system that you don't touch, that you don't, meander through or destroy, and you allow it to remain a natural system. So we have the market area, which will, we'll have lettuce in the market area, and not lavender growing in the middle of the bed anymore, even though lavender is going to be our main, it's good pest control, right? It's good for that. But what we have is along the perimeter of this space, we have hedgerows, and hedgerows, I'm not talking about a hedge of, box elder hedge. I'm talking more of a hedgerow of botanical flora that perennial flowers you don't really have to mess with. You don't even have to plant. You might have to deadhead and cut through in the springtime and deadhead in the summer when you have flowers, but the idea is to have non-invasive, potentially natural native pollinator gardens surrounding and in between your production spaces. Now with cannabis, a very long annual like that's going to grow throughout the whole season. At the bottom of our cannabis, we'll grow some lettuce and some crops so we can turn over. But you know what? Honestly, long-term plants with the cannabis is great too. Basil, lavender, and stuff like that in your cannabis bed cannabis is great, like in your permaculture space. Basically, like you would make a tree guild in permaculture, where a tree, you would have perennials surrounding your tree, feeding from the tree. Everything is in harmony in that space. The bees are attracted to your perennials. You do the same thing with your cannabis. You turn your cannabis into a tree guild. Plant your cannabis, plant some rosemary, plant some thyme, plant a little bit, do a little quadwin around your cannabis plant, petunias, maybe something like that. They respond very well with cannabis roots. Marigolds are great just because they're going to cycle help. They're going to have terpene, limonene. They're going to help attract and repel specifically rodents and rabbits. I don't know, they do a lot of different things. But again, man, the stuff at the store is not necessarily going to be that. You need to find these good varietals. What was the one, medicinal or hallucinogenic? It was hallucinogenic.
A petunia.
There was a hallucinogenic petunia. There's a medicinal, there's a high alkaloid marigold, but it doesn't really exist in the nurseries. You got to find it. There's hundreds of varieties of marigolds, hundreds of varieties of petunias. It blows you away when you get beyond the box store seed shelf and then put those around your cannabis, more medicinals. Dill is a great one, actually, because you can put dill with just about everything. It companion plants well with just about everything, and it will bring in your predator wasps, your beneficial wasps or predator
IPM.
Yeah, little tiny little fucking bees, man. Little suckers. They're little predator wasps.
They're tiny. They're
honeybees.
They don't hurt you.
No, not honeybees. They're what do you call them? Sweat bees. You call them sweat bees or whatever. They're little they're awesome. They just cleaning up aphids and mites and shit, and they're doing their work. Keep your bees out there. Keep your birds out there. Physical barriers. If you don't want your birds shitting on your cannabis, toss nets or something over your cannabis. There's a lot of things, you can do, but spraying and monocropping and all of that other stuff is really what turns off the balance. It offsets the balance that's going on out there. And then that's when you just have a downhill fall, the tumbleweed goes, the snowball effect of problems occurs. You apply the wrong beneficial, or you apply you kill a beneficial, by applying even organic oil or something. We bought an organic oil, and one big thing that we want to promote is no spray, and that's not something we're going to use on our organic plants. Even we use it to combat pests in our cannabis and our stuff like that. But when we're on our outdoor garden, for me, my philosophy out there is a completely different philosophy than what I do indoor. Indoor is detached from outdoor, so to speak. And outdoor, I think is everything's connected outside in many, many, many ways. Not all the ways that you could ever even fathom. Everything's connected outside. Indoor, there's a lot of barriers, so to speak, especially when you get into, we have infrared barrier for one, blocks all kinds of signals. So definitely blocks out the sun, and the sun's the big one you get outside. And I'm rambling at this point, so
Lots of
ramble.
I started early on the munchies, and I'm giving myself munchies with more munchies.
Oh, those are so good too. Darn.
Oh man, each all precisely dosed at 1.3 milligrams.
We could probably make those from scratch.
Oh, dude, no! Shout out to Munchery and Angry Baker. Those all, and the hot sauce as well. Fantastic.
All of his chocolates. I mean, he's a real actual gourmet chef.
He's an actual gourmet chef. He's legit. He makes the best soft pretzels. Oh my god!
What is that whole pack in itself? It's like 100 milligram pack, right? So it's just eat a half a bag, or
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many I eat.
So
could be all of them.
That's the problem with those. They're dangerous.
They are dangerous. They're so yummy.
Look at those. And what do they taste like? Are they green?
No, not at all. They're just. I mean, I will say cinnamon does a great job at covering up the flavor of cannabis, but especially decarbed, baking, whatever, oil cannabis. But no, it tastes like cinnamon, like roasted cinnamon almonds, I guess.
They're on their way.
Nice. Yummy.
Who's on the way?
Shit. I thought
They
we fucking paused. My bad.
By the way, they're on their way.
You order pizza? What's going on?
My boss has to stop by and grab something. Shit. I was like, they're on their way. My bad. Bye-bye. As usual.
Hey, it could have been way worse, Tara. It could have been way worse.
Oh, it could've
Yeah,
been
that's
way
true.
fucking It could have been way worse.
I always like triple check because I'm nervous. I'll say something.
We'll say something to each other, and then I'll go, shit. Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh, I haven't done that in a while.
It's usually something foul or raunchy or about you, chat. No, I'm just,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
that's chat's crunching tonight, man. Cheers, everybody. I see you about that.
Mhm. What about you, Chad? I want to throw that question I had earlier to you guys in chat. Like, what makes a good strain for you as either a grower or a smoker or both? 'Cause there's so many like different things that could make it just for you.
There's a lot of things, man. Ultimately, I want to be able to grow it indoor, and I want to be able to grow it in both of all my systems. I want it to work in my systems, because not all the weed that I grow is for me. I don't really like strawberries and cream, but it's one of our most popular strains, and I grow the shit out of it. You know what I mean? I personally, if I smoke it, this conversation, well, I don't know. I'd be much quieter. So
Maybe we should try.
maybe we should try.
More raspberry parfait.
The thing
More raspberry parfait.
what I really like about these, the limes and stuff is that the THC is not 30%. Well, if even really does get to 30%, it's not high 20s even, like most of the weed we grow is 18. The flow is testing pretty consistently between 18 and like 22. So it has that little bit of variance. And I really like that. The Citrique was testing at like 19 to 20. A Rainbow Drivers, same range, 21, 22. I think Rainbow might have tested at 22. I really like that 20% range. It's phenomenal. If I smoke strawberries and cream, which is more in the 25, 28 range, I get this fucking head high and it distracts the shit out of me. Where I'm like, oh, I'm too fucking high. I'll start checking my pulse and shit like that, making sure it's not too fast. I'll start counting time.
Oh, I do that all the time.
10 deep breaths.
Dude, like counting seeing where
Feel
my
this
fucking
cold jar.
pulse rate
This
is.
jar also had a little gunk in it.
Is this just fresh out of the fridge, dude?
Yep.
Terpenes holding. But yeah, dude, some of those fruity high mercy, I don't know what it is, but they just gets me. They get me high. They get me more paranoid than sativas. It's that high THC. And that's where like call the whole sativa indica thing, the whole high whatever it is that's doing it, like, because I've seen people call the lineage wise, like something that's just in the lineage just has a bunch of sedating genetics, just like have this gas pedal of a strain, but it's not. It's like for the first like 10, 20 minutes, you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's a sleeper and you're like, oh shit, and you can't move and you're totally like, yeah. But I think it's a potency thing. I think
I was
it's
gonna
like,
say when the potency is higher or like higher milligrams of edibles, that's when I get the oh shit way faster.
because
Like I really enjoy being able to have a full joint or dab and not feel so ripped from just one.
So
I
you
like
guys like
yeah.
you guys like high ceiling strains then, right? Because the low ceiling means you're just getting really high really quickly.
Out it really quick and then it fades and you crash. But what I see is a lot of those varietals that do that are testing really high. this is a terrible example because I'm gonna use the dispensary model but like forever in a dispensary. Today it's a bad example, but in the last decade, we'll say, go into the dispensaries, get the sativa on the shelf, and it's like 30% THC. And I'm like, this 30% sativa, that just doesn't make sense. You know, in my mind, sativa should be lower in THC and have a little element of hempy CBD or something in there. And a lot of them, it's just, I don't know, it's just it's branding and marketing and this and that. And so you don't really get a true representation of what the effects are going to be off of the label on the fucking jar. You got to smoke it, you got to smell it, you know, you need to experience it. And in a lot of those high potency, they will feel like a sativa. And they'll give you that rush. They'll give you that anxiety, but then they give you that crash. Whereas good, like what I consider quote unquote, you know, daytime sativa is you get the rush, but it stays and you don't crash and you get a focused, clear head and you don't get paranoia. That's the thing that I like. See, my sativa, the sativa that I like, it's not a paranoia sativa. I'm getting paranoia from high THC indica. You know, my paranoia comes from high THC.
That happens to me too.
You know what I mean?
That happens it actually can happen on both ends. You know, that's the thing. But I do notice, like, I can get really fucking paranoid on some GMO if I've smoked too much of it.
Right. Yeah.
With RSO, like edible forms happen to me more than smoking. Like I have to have quite a bit of dabs before, you know, it really gets me too high.
You know, I notice if a dab fucks me up really bad and I get paranoid from it is if I do like 2 like back-to-back dabs. If I do 2 back-to-back dabs, I'm gonna have a time. So
like when I did the dab off, like that, is that what that was called?
yeah,
That was too much at one time for me with no tolerance. Like that's what really fucks me up way more than smoking. I don't often get too high from smoking, but that's because we do that every day.
definitely. Yeah.
Dabs, I like doing like 4 dabs during a show, but during the day, normally I'll have like 1 or 2 tops.
Yeah.
And then we'll have joints,
Mhm.
mostly him. But
Dabs are my go-to. It's just kind of because it's just so kind of, I'm busy. So it's like I'm always, you know, I don't have the time that I would like to have to be able to smoke a doobie, or I would be doing that. But like a dab's quick for me. I'm constantly go. So I've got to be in and out kind of thing. And
I feel a little more like disconnected when I do like 10, when I do a lot of dabs back to back, really big one. I like have a hard time focusing.
yeah,
It really messes with my ADD. So that's why I like a good lime skunk or something, because it actually gives me a little energy rather than like just feeling the high.
mhm. Boy, that's so good. I can just smell that right now. That's just one smell.
Yummy.
GMO is very unique, isn't it? It's got a very unique funk. I'm curious. I mean, I get it in a lot of other crosses of GMO, but it's just like it just came out of nowhere. With that like super funky. The Bluecast has good fortune. Getting anxious from weed. Yeah, I'm curious. For me, like the anxiousness for me is always like a inner voice telling me that, you know, yeah, like the thing in my ear is not good. You know, like whatever it is, it's like oh, you got a lump on your back. You know what I mean? Start thinking about that lump on your back, and like that's where my paranoia goes. It's weird. It's not like looking out my window, oh, there's somebody out to get me. It's not that kind of like paranoia. It's more like I think
In your head.
anxiousness. Yeah, it's more like anxiousness.
My voice gets louder in my head. I feel like I'll like really think a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a symptom of aging too. I never thought that way when I was younger. I didn't feel like I was dying when I was younger, and you start getting in your mid-30s and you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, it's a possibility at this age.
Thinking about
So you start thinking, yeah. Anyway, out of that rabbit hole, everybody's high and everything. But one thing it is, when you're in public, for me, is when I will get that way. And most importantly, and I think that due to the fact that cannabis is a psychoactive component, similar to many things are psychoactive, but cannabis has got that bit of psychoactivity to it, that it's a set and setting, for me, anytime I've ever gotten like dizzy or lightheaded or anything like that, it's been set and setting. Thinking the situation, I'm around too many people,
somewhere new,
loud, the voices, or around new people, and you definitely get that way. Or you have to be responsible, during times of like having to be responsible, you're driving or something like that, those are times of being, that paranoia or anxiety would set in, so I guess sometimes I watch
at events. I have to like give myself a time limit. Like at a certain time I have to not have any more dabs because I need some time to like recover, kind of, to my head to be clear. Like
to like
I get a little spacey. One time we were at a harem, I think, and Tara gave me a dab like right as we were packing up, and I was such a space case, I could not help him at all pack up. Just gets much.
I got something for you guys.
Way to go, Tara.
Made her leave.
There's a
No.
couple years ago, the Lime Skunk terp profile.
Oh, that terpenolene.
Pretty simple.
Yummy.
Terpenylene, obviously very dominant, and then ocimene, caryophyllene, myrcene, a little bit of humulene and d-limonene in there too. I'm gonna see if I can't find another secondary sample to compare it to.
Interesting.
What's ocimene? What else is that in?
Great question. Some of these are a little more familiar to me than others. Oops, what did I just do?
That's cool. I can look it up too. I always am just so interested in what else has them, like mangoes and lavender. I think that's cool to find them in other things in nature.
What's cool is finding cannabinoids in nature, like things that actually trigger your cannabinoid receptor, like black pepper, caryophyllene specifically. There, you go back to that image for Groli. The caryophyllene you had is in a pretty high percentage there. They're saying that that's in a way not just a terpene but a cannabinoid, because it bonds to your CB2 receptors, similar to the way CBD does.
Also a hydrocarbon.
So what, CBD or
no, just terpenes in general.
terpenes in general. I love semantics. Oh yeah.
Sorry. I found I think this is a flower test. I don't know. The same like report is not here, so I don't know how to pull up the PDF, but it's showing that terpenylene and caryophyllene are pretty much tied on this one, which again, this is, I think, a flower sample from probably a couple years prior. I think this is actually when we were pheno hunting it. It's got myrcene, humulene, d-limonene, and a little bit of pinene, linalool, and so beta pinene, linalool, alpha bisabolol, and alpha pinene, but like very, very minimal amounts of those last few. Yeah, caryophyllene and terpenylene, man, those are the ones that dominate in lime skunk apparently.
Yummy.
I think it's like 15-16% THC.
Becca's got the torch fired up. I'm reading chat. Dave Martin said, based on the testimonial, we needs more regulation. Hey, that's I don't know. That's just me. This is just me.
It affects everyone different.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I smoke an over average amount of cannabis. Also, smoke
I don't know
like
if
the
you
same strains. Over average amount of cannabis. I smoke,
average, I guess, yeah.
like I don't know what the average amount of cannabis is, but I smoke joints like I would smoke cigarettes.
But less. I
Yeah,
think your tolerance is lower these days.
probably. I smoked less than 4 years ago. I smoked less than 2 years ago, probably. I probably smoke. I don't know if I smoked less than I did last year. I can't say that.
Okay, I got one for you guys. This is a year before that last test I showed you, but instead of an extract, this is flour. And so I'm going to share first the terpene results. So 2.8% in flour. You see again that terpinolene at the top, almost 1% is terpinolene of that flour. Almost 1% of live skunk is flour, or is terpinolene. That's crazy. Ocimene, caryophyllene, myrcene, humulene, limonene, and then a little bit of pinene. Again, linalool, alpha pinene, whatever that is. A 3 carry. What letter is that? What Greek letter is that?
For a low number of myrcene, and that's what I see there. That's because typically that myrcene is in that top 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the top 2, or in the probably mostly it's in the number 1. And from my understanding, that is a sedative. And so in my understanding of that would be that is what makes most indicas, so to speak, sedating, or
I thought caryophyllene was a part of that kind of group too, but I might be wrong there.
That might be because it's a CB2 and it's acting like CBD, and it's taking place of CBD in that respect. And CBD has been known to, most people thought the indicas were high in CBD, based on the effects that it would give. And according to lab analysis, that wasn't the case. It was CBD was doing other things.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But anyway, so CB2 is body, right? So you have brain and you have body. CB1 is brain, CB2 is body. And CBD is helping your body, so it might get you loose and relaxed. Similarly with the caryophyllene, get you loose and relaxed. So yeah, I would definitely put it up there in the sedative category.
But are you ready for what I really want to show you guys? This is the same report. Again, flour, year before.
It's gonna be high myrcene. Myrcene number 1.
This is the cannabinoids. Who wants to guess the THCA level or THC level?
32%. Oh, are we talking? This is a resin. So
no, that's flour. This is flour.
Flour.
Yeah, because you just saw the 2.8% terpenes by volume. That's flour.
16%.
I'll go 17.9.
You guys love lime skunk, so I want you to pay attention to these results.
It's gonna be a 12% strain. Wow, 10.7.
That's so crazy.
Dang. I don't know if I've ever smoked lime skunk. Have I smoked?
This is blowing my mind right now. I'm gonna have to find. I know I have other flower results because
Okay,
I think this is on the very low end. But
so where does that compare? What's the THC after you put it into a resin? Does it get it just as high as any of the others? Is that just
you're concentrating it so it can get anywhere from I'd say a high 50s on the low end to upper 80s on the high end. Unless you're like going distillate or something a little further.
But that
just talking my process.
That would still be your process, just your process. You get
yeah.
But there's still that high of variance in it. And so So what I'm curious is because what I get out of dabbing it is it's one of the more smooth, like basically everything that we have is in a flight over here. You know, if I went through and dabbed them all, I would say the one that I could take the biggest hit and hold it in and take it nice smooth without fucking coughing my lungs off and turning my head into a giant balloon would be the lime skunk. The lime skunk is just by far like the one that's just, I don't know, maybe it's the pine, maybe it's a bronchodilator, maybe no, there was no pine. There was no pine in it. So
Not a lot, no.
no bronchodilator in there, but there was maybe the I don't know something. Maybe, I was thinking it's the amount of cannabinoid, and because usually, like I said before, like that strawberries and cream is a higher cannabinoid one. It usually gives me that oh fuck, even though it's the sedating one, it's the one that I also feel is the more harsh. Maybe harsh is a bad term, but it's the one that makes me cough the most.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the most resinous towards the end, so that could have something to do with it.
I think it's D-limonene is pretty harsh, like sharp. I like that word sharp for it.
Sharp, yeah, but I don't get that with those specifically.
Yeah, well, we are going over time, so we should probably wrap it up. But I did want to show you just another test, same cut and everything. I don't know what the difference was. I'd have to go back and dig and see why that was so low, and maybe it's chopped earlier or something like that. But here's one at 15% for the same lime skunk. That CBG up there at 1.29. This one actually has the caryophyllene just a tad higher than the terpinolene. So maybe a little bit of different maturity there. And then, of course, the myrcene, humulene, limonene, pinene, etc.
It is the end of the show, but I would like to say one of my favorite strains that I had, actually one that would boost the anxiety a little bit, was only a 10% strain. It was Girls Gone Wild, and I think that I only got that was like 11%. And it was black purple. I mean, that thing would begin fly at 1 week into bloom. It was a black plant. It was like a super purple coming right out. It was a green plant, but the flowers were purple from the beginning. And it had black leaves, always green. High in pine, like pining was like 1% pining, almost 1% pining on it. It was wild. And it was only like a 10%er. I ended up getting rid of it, dude. Nobody got high. I loved the shit. I smoke it all day. It was fucking great. And every now and then it just get you there, Oh, dude, we have
like super old
stash.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that, huh?
So dark.
That's wild.
The stems aren't black or anything.
No, it's just a nug meat.
I mean, it certainly smells old, but yeah.
Smoke it. All right, cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.